Welcome again, Capricorn. Happy New Year. It's 2019. I'm Dadhichi from astrology.com.au, and I'm going to go through here some of my notes. I'm just having a look at what I've written here in the 2019 overview. I've got 3,000 words for each sign, and I wanted to just go through the overview to give you not just January, but an overview of what may be happening throughout 2019. It's about drawing lines in the sand, Capricorn. It kicks off with a new moon in your sun sign on January 6th. This coincides with a solar eclipse. And the forecast is strength and depth of your resolutions in the coming year. December 26th, right at the end of 2019, is an additional solar eclipse. And this accentuates just how important this year is going to be in terms of reevaluating yourself as a person and what sort of important developments you wish to instigate this year. From start to finish, therefore, it's going to be primarily about self-renovation, as I call it. Changing what needs to be changed will be the key thread of your life in this coming year. Now, Saturn's your ruling planet, and in its proximity to Pluto, it continues to impact your sun sign. This is pretty radical. It's been the case last year. It continues to intensify. And the eclipse will simply emphasize the already important work you've been doing on yourself in the past few years. This also has intense ramifications for your relationships, as it fully opposes your partnership's house. Pluto spent some years now reshaping you and your view of the world and your life. So you can't underestimate its power. There's no doubt that this has had a marked impact on the way you interact with people, especially the ones you love most. This is a work in progress. So you must remain open to its sometimes overwhelming and emotional effects. Saturn makes you serious as it transits your sun sign. And depending on the date in Capricorn that you were born, you may start to feel as if some of your responsibilities are not necessarily fair. This is simply a matter of getting back to tracing your current circumstances as to why you are exactly where you are. You'll realise that a series of choices were made and these were yours. As soon as you acknowledge this, stop resisting the results of those decisions, judging yourself and others harshly, you'll start to realise that you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. It's all going to plan. Look deeper and you'll see this. Mercury and Jupiter energise the year with the base position in your 12th house in January. A great deal of focus, therefore, is on spiritual analysis and on your past. Fortunately, these two planets are benign in influence and usually bring a positive spin to those areas, even ones that may be spotlighted for the time being as being a little bit difficult. You can find it easier to solve problems, in other words, by going back to your actions at a previous time and resolving even the most unpleasant experiences within yourself. You don't necessarily have to make resolutions on behalf of any other person, just yourself. Sometimes people aren't prepared to resolve and bury the hatchet. If you're making your internal resolution dependent on someone else's apology or reconciliation, you may be waiting a long time. So I'll say it again, resolution is primarily about releasing yourself from the past and moving on, even if you can't get others on the same page. It's in your own best interest to resolve things, and forgiveness is much the same, as I say here. Charitable acts also play a large part in your life, as the 12th house, where Jupiter and Mercury start the year, indicate selfless work and a desire to help others less fortunate than yourself. I'm making notes here still as I talk. That's very important. You must be more careful that this doesn't become an open-ended deal for everyone. There must be balances and checks on your most valuable resource of time, as you might find that being eroded very quickly. You may also be branded as the helper. So whoever needs help comes to you whenever they deem it necessary. So that's why I said at the outset, 2019 is about drawing that line in the sand. You've got to be clear in your communication this year. Like Pluto, Neptune is a particularly slow-moving planet, and its cycle takes a long while to embed itself in your consciousness. There could be some frustration with the earlier transit of Mars moving over this planet late in 2018. This occurs in your third house of communication, mental activity, and spiritual ideals. Its placement in your third house muddies the waters of discrimination. So you may think you're making a great decision only to later realise that sort of what was I thinking moment. Practical reasoning can become clouded under these transits, but your mental acuity may return as Mars leaves that third house, taking along with it much of the angst that you've been experiencing. By February, you should start to feel less edgy about things. And speaking of edginess, there may be some unexpected events taking place in your home life. That's also been an ongoing issue. You may be feeling somewhat unsettled there, with Uranus doing a backward and forward retrograde direct dance over the last months of 2018. You feel as if it's becoming more difficult to put your roots down, or you're just not comfortable where you're at. The great news is that on March 6, Uranus moves out of this domestic area of your life, bringing with it a great deal of tranquility, a lovely peaceful period on the home front. You're also likely to feel more content, so that may be wise not to jump into any major decisions about, for example, relocating until mid-year. Your ruling planet must also be looked at to see some of the significant changes that will take place. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and makes several important transits, including its retrograde stationary phase on April 30. It remains in its apparent reverse motion until September 18. If you hang your hat on some outcome around the middle of the year, you may have to wait a little longer while your ruler retraces its steps celestially. This means you'll be in a period of reflection and reconsideration. The Sun, in combination with Saturn, perhaps means that you're taking yourself a little too seriously as well. So lighten up. Just go with the flow a little more, Capricorn. Within this period, issues relating to communication will be affected by Mercury, as it goes through similar retrograde and forward motion. This all happens around July up until August 1, and this is the period that will intensify the above reappraisal cycle. As Mercury transits your 8th house of shared financial resources and intimate communications, this has all the hallmarks of financial and emotional elements tied in with each other, and maybe a little messily so. So once again, the prevailing keyword throughout this period is clarity. I've written a whole lot more here. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Love, romance and friendship in focus. Your career and finances in focus. And your karma, luck and spirituality also focus there at the site astrology.com.au, available from January 1 as to what's going on for the rest of 2019 for you. Do drop me a line if you want. I'll be back on February with your February forecast. And in the meantime, once again, do have a happy and safe new year. Take care for now. Bye-bye.